This is an ABC News special report.
Thanks for joining us. We are coming on the air with breaking news. Sources telling ABC News that Jeffrey Epstein has died. An apparent suicide overnight at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. That is according to 3 law enforcement sources who gave that information to ABC News. This is the federal lockup where the multi-millionaire was being held while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has been covering this story this morning and joins us now with more. What are you learning?
So sources tell ABC News Jeffrey Epstein took his own life. The exact timing and circumstances are unclear right now, but the mega millionaire is accused of exploiting and abusing dozens of minor girls. He'd been on suicide watch in a New York City jail. You'll remember he was found unresponsive in his cell last month with marks on his neck. Initially, investigators thought he'd tried to take his own life. They were then looking into whether he was assaulted by another inmate or if he'd even paid someone to beat him up. Epstein's attorneys had been fighting to get him out on bail, but a judge refused. Prosecutors argued the mega millionaire's lifestyle and wealth made him an extreme flight risk.
And this is a major development, this case just getting underway. Stephanie Ramos, thanks so much. We know you'll stay on top of it. I do want to bring in ABC's Tom Llamas, anchor of World News Tonight on the weekends, who's been following this Epstein saga since the very beginning. Tom, what are you learning this morning?
Well, this is just a stunning turn of events. As Stephanie had reported, there was thoughts that he had tried to commit suicide earlier and some proof that, but just really a surprise shock to many of the victims who have been hoping that they would see justice. Jeffrey Epstein was accused of sex trafficking girls underage, and he was set to go to trial later this year. He had, quote unquote, beat this case more than 10 years ago in Florida, but the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York building a new case against Jeffrey Epstein, arresting him and raiding his Manhattan mansion. Inside, they found even more evidence of pictures of underage girls. And this also follows news just yesterday of one of his associates, a separate court case, but one of the Epstein accusers coming out and naming names of some very prominent businessmen and politicians who have all denied that they did anything inappropriate. But they started to name names. These names started to come out in the public. And one of the associates, it was thought of that some of these Epstein associates were going to be brought in and possibly charged criminally. So the case was only getting bigger. So many young girls allegedly abused by Jeffrey Epstein thought they finally were going to see justice. They thought they were going to see him rot in a jail cell. It's unclear at this point what they're thinking today, if this indeed is justice. But Jeffrey Epstein, the monster that they painted, is no more.
Yeah, a stunning turn of developments here, Tom, and it raises a lot of questions about where the cases go from here, as you pointed out, because you mentioned all these other people who are named in these new unsealed documents. Epstein now dying of an apparent suicide. What could this mean for prosecutors as they try to put this all together now?
Well, the criminal case against Jeffrey Epstein, personally, obviously, is over. But if they go after some of his associates, you have to remember there are allegations out there that several women worked with Jeffrey Epstein to procure some of these young girls, essentially madams, if you will. So far, none of these women have been charged criminally yet, but there is thinking that the U.S. Attorney may go after some of these people. So the criminal case, though it's not even there yet, could continue in that direction. There are also civil cases, because you got to remember, Jeffrey Epstein is worth at least $500 billion. Multiple properties in New York, New Mexico, Palm Beach, and he has his private island as well. So you have to think some of these civil cases may proceed forward, since now the criminal case against Jeffrey Epstein is essentially over. A lot of questions still to be had on this, and you have to remember, these allegations happened over years, and we're talking about multiple women who say they were abused by Jeffrey Epstein when they were underage. So still a lot of questions, and this news definitely shocking to a lot of people. But if Jeffrey Epstein and the case against him was pretty strong, prosecutors said they had a strong case against them. If Jeffrey Epstein thought he had any chance of beating this case this time, clearly he thought he couldn't.
It will also raise a lot of questions for the Metropolitan Correctional Center, which was dealing with an inmate who was on suicide watch when all of this happened. The Correctional Center had faced allegations before about the conditions, and a judge refusing that bond to Jeffrey Epstein. keeping him behind bars. Tom Llamas, thank you so much for your information there. Again, just to recap our breaking news for you, sources telling ABC News that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide overnight at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. That, of course, the federal lockup where the multimillionaire was being held while awaiting trial on those federal sex trafficking charges and conspiracy. We are going to return now to regular programming in some parts of the country. That is Good Morning America. We'll also have a complete wrap-up coming up tonight on World News Tonight with Tom Llamas, who will be in the chair. Also, for other developments throughout the course of the day, you can go to abcnews.com or our ABC News app for breaking news alerts. For now, I'm Whit Johnson in New York. Have a good day.